Of all the possible characters that Sony could have came up with to feature in a movie, it absolutely baffles me as to why they would choose Madam Web. Madam Web, in her original state that we all know her as, she is a blind, crippled woman whose powers are of no use to anybody. I mean, yes, she can see into the future, but tactically speaking, what good is Madam Web's powers? I mean, yeah, of course you could say, well, duh, she could see into the future, but no, honestly, even in the movie, she could see into the future, but it does no one any good, really. Like, for instance, the scene that really was really kind of freaking me out. It was kind of making me think that I was on some kind of weird acid trip, even though I was pretty sure I hadn't taken any acid. The scene where the fireworks factory was blowing up for some reason because fireworks are now like artillery shells. They're like now high explosives. They can, when they go off, they can completely destroy a building. Uh, Besides the fact that nobody nobody tried to secure the building and nobody tried to immediately clear the area. The guy, her boss, her supervisor, he decides for some reason he's going to take the ambulance and drive the ambulance away. And she could foresee his death. And she tries to convince him to not take the ambulance, and he overrules her and takes the ambulance, and lo and behold, it gets sideswiped by it gets T-boned by a damn semi truck, and the guy dies. And it's like, well, you had this ability to see what was going to happen before it happened. You couldn't have just commandeered the ambulance and drove it yourself. I mean, really. I mean, but that scene in and of itself was like, it was weirding me out because you couldn't tell what was real and what was her precognition or whatever the hell it is. I honestly don't know what they were thinking when they made this movie. I mean, I'm thinking back on it weeks later after watching it, and I'm seriously thinking like they realize that you know, people are not people are not legally obligated to like what they put out. I mean, it just because Sony puts out a movie doesn't mean that people are going to approve of it or like it. I don't. It's just hard to fathom why you would even. I don't even see where you could actually improve this. That's how bad it is, because there's nothing there to improve. This should not have ever existed. This is like an abomination, really. It's just like it's like a freak show. This movie is the cinematic version of a freak show. There's a lot going on here, yet there's really nothing going on here. It what really sticks out to me, what really sticks out to me because of like my background and the jobs I've had is when uh Cassie goes on the lam with the girls, when she goes uh you know starts playing fugitive, the how nobody finds her, how not even evil Spider-Man doesn't find her. The NYPD, which is not the NYPD of today, but the NYPD of 20 years ago, not even 2 years after 9/11. Not even 2 years, more like a year and a half after 9/11, because it looks like it's still summertime in New York. So it's like a year and a half after 9/11. Nobody shuts down the island. The NYPD do not shut down the island. They do not put out a bolo for Cassie Webb and three underage girls that she's suspected of kidnapping. There's no sketch of the evil Spider-Man. There's no video of the evil Spider-Man killing about 20 cops. The fact that this woman steals a cab, and anybody who knows anything about cabs know that all cabs are low jacked. You're stealing a bright yellow vehicle in a densely populated city a year and a half after the worst terrorist attack in American history that is low jacked, and you're going to drive it 3 to maybe 5 hours out of the city, because that's how long it would take for you to leave the actual boroughs of New York. And I'm assuming that they're like in Manhattan. Drive it over the George Washington Bridge and drive it to New York State, into the wilderness of New York State. And nobody, no NYPD, no Homeland Security. They exist in a world where S.H.I.E.L.D. is a thing. In the Marvel Universe, there's S.H.I.E.L.D. And they're able to get that far enough away out of the 5 boroughs into New York State, because that's where she was at. Then drive back, of all things. She takes off the license plates. And not only does she throw the license plates down on the ground by the car, but she continues to drive the taxi. Cassie continues to drive the taxi without any license plates on, in a town where law enforcement is presumed to be looking for her. Now I want you to try taking the license plates off of your car, the car that you legally own, and try driving them up and down the street, and try driving them past a cop with no license plates on your car, and see what happens to you. I don't need to tell you what will happen to you if you drive a vehicle without a license plate, and there's also a bolo out for that vehicle. The vehicle has surely been reported stolen. A taxi has been reported stolen. And this woman drove it for a week, not to mention the fact that she's able to charter an airplane to the jungles of Peru post 9/11. There was no thinking made in this movie. There was none. There was no thinking. There was no thought given to this. These people just started just spitballing things. Started saying, "Have Cassie do this and have Cassie do that and have girls listen," without any symbols of or common sense whatsoever. We leave 3 teenage girls that are being hunted by a superpowered madman with an average guy and his pregnant wife, when you are literally going to a place where the only place in the world actually where there are people who could actually hold their own against them. I mean, think about it. If you could get on an airplane and fly halfway around the world yourself, why not take the 3 girls? Now, my video is about to reach its limit, and so I'm going to end it there. But those are my thoughts on Madam Web.